Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our first matchup of UFC Fight Night Sarukian versus Hooker, coming to us this live Saturday, November 22nd. Overall, this is a very, very good card, and it'll be the first card to take place in Qatar. That's a big thing. And obviously, the UFC is now going to Doha, I believe I'm pronouncing it right, which is the capital of Qatar. And, it's pretty cool to see the UFC branch out even more. I mean, they did go to Azerbaijan for the first time this year, and now Qatar, another Middle Eastern state. And overall, this card is pretty stacked. Obviously, that main event, Armin Sarukian versus Dan Hooker, a very important fight for the lightweight division, and supposedly a title eliminator, from what I've heard. That co-main event, Bilal Muhammad versus Ian Gary, will answer some questions on how the welterweight division is going to move forward. And then you have some sprinkles of really good fights. You got like Volkan Oezdemir versus Alonzo Menifield, the oddest fight I think I've ever seen so far in Jack Hermansson versus Mitabek Orabai, Alex Perez and Suleiman. And you got a lot of debuting guys here, like hyped prospect Luke Riley coming in from Cage Warriors. He's someone to watch out for, I think. The return of Kyoji Horiguchi versus Tagir Ulanbekov, and then a really, really good clash of two bantamweight prospects, Batsak Almakhan versus Alexandre Tuporia. But without further ado, let's get on to our first fight. First up, we have Marcus. Excuse me, my screen fucked up. Marcus Bujlo taking on Denzel Freeman. So we have two debuting heavyweights with not much of a difference in their record besides Freeman having literally one more fight. And I suppose a bit more accolade to him in terms of what promotion he's fighting in, because he had fought in the PFL before and the LFA. Meanwhile, Bujlo, I really hope I'm pronouncing this right, mostly fought in BFN, and that's the Polish promotion, as well as just a few your other local shows. Honestly, there's not much difference for these two, except what their records are. 6-0 for Bujlo, 6-1 for Freeman. Now, obviously, you expect this kind of fight on the Contender Series, but considering how shallow we are in the heavyweight division, it does make sense that it's very similar to who was it? Oh my God, I am forgetting off the top of my head. But, right. Some of the other heavyweight fights we've seen where these guys with not stellar records, like barely 10 fights, not even 10 fights to them, but, like Lewis Sutherland, for example, who was making his debut against Junior Top. We're trying to fill this heavyweight division, essentially what the UFC is doing, because by God, the division needs some new blood. But without further ado, let's break down this fight. For Bujlo, as I said, undefeated, 6-0, still relatively young in his career, obviously, but from what I've seen, he has some solid fundamentals. I'm not going to say he's well-rounded, per se. He does have some striking to him, a good jab, and is able to mix in some solid leg kicks. Not a knockout artist by any stretch, but he can pick his shots and stay composed. But where Bujlo really shines, and what I've seen from tape study, is his clinch and his grappling game. Bujlo's grappling is pretty good. Especially when he takes his opponents to the mat, his wrestling is pretty solid. He's not looking for one-punch knockout power. I don't think he has that kind of power, to be honest. But he's looking to wear down his opponents, control them in the clinch, and find his way to dominant positions from the ground. But Bujlo is pretty methodical from the ground. He doesn't take too many risks from what I've seen. Very good at getting his trips and throws, sliding into full mount, and then from there either going for the ground and pound or take the back and go for a rear naked choke. That said, the main concern right now for Bujlo, besides being only 6-0 in his career and now fighting in the UFC, is that he's still pretty green, specifically when it comes to high level striking exchanges, and he doesn't have the best footwork, and he's sometimes a little too willing to stand and trade in the pocket, and that's really concerning considering who he's going up against in Denzel Freeman. For Denzel Freeman, 6-1, as I said, he's actually fought in the PFL. He's fought in the LFA. Actually, has a win over, who was it? Steven Absalin. If you know who that is, that's the guy who just got a contract on the Contender Series. Actually supposed to make his debut in about a month or so. Freeman is, like I said, about one fight more experienced than Bujlo. and he's showcased what's different. Or sorry, for Freeman, his stock has been different for me. He has really good power and really good athleticism every step of the way for me. His one loss came very early in his career, and that was by split decision too, against Isayan Pinson. I believe that's how you pronounce it, right? I really hate butchering names. I apologize if I did. But since then, Freeman has bounced back with some solid performances, racked up some finishes with his knockout power for sure, and actually has a submission in his record too. Freeman is for sure a dangerous fighter. He's fast, he's explosive, and has an undeniability to end a fight with one punch. You saw in his PFL fight with Raiden Kusiev, where he landed a head kick out of seemingly nowhere. Well, obviously, he kind of through proper technique, but it definitely felt like it. Freeman's stand up, though, is his bread and butter. He is a knockout artist, plain and simple. He's not the most technical striker, but his power is, and his ability to close distance quickly makes him a threat to any opponent. And Freeman's striking, it comes in fast and obviously with intent. Doesn't really waste any time trying to acclimate points. He's just looking to end the show early. But Freeman's striking, honestly, like I said, there's more to it than just power from what I've seen on his regional footage, or I guess his PFL footage too. He has good movement and footwork, and he sets up his big shots well. He's got a strong clinch game, though it's not where he prefers to spend his time. And on the ground, Freeman is solid, but not a world beater by any stretch. And he's comfortable defending submission and works his way back to his feet. But if the fight hits the mat, he's not going to dominate with like someone with a wrestling heavy background. That being said, Freeman has pretty good athleticism overall, and you've seen it when he does go into some grappling and slash wrestling exchanges, and he's able to reverse positions. It's often because he's so athletic for a heavyweight. Now, so how does this all come together in terms of the fight? Well, you got Bujlo, who I think is. I think both guys are well-rounded in heavyweight standard, and I'm talking about low-level heavyweight, but they are well-rounded in terms of what they can do. I'd say Bujlo is the more methodical grappler and looking to control the pace and wear his opponents down, as opposed to Freeman, who's dangerous as hell, especially early in the fight. The obvious clash is this. Bujlo is probably going to want to make this a grind. He's going to want to close distance and control Freeman in the clinch and work for his takedowns. Freeman, on the other hand, is looking for one clean opening to finish the fight. And he's the type of guy who doesn't need to dominate you for 3 rounds. He just needs one clean shot. Now, Bujlo's approach is simple. He'll need to avoid getting caught by Freeman early and look to close that distance quick. Get on him like white on rice. Because Bujlo is going to wear down Freeman with the pressure, tie him up in the clinch, and take him down when he can. And Bujlo's goal is to make Freeman fight at a slower pace, drag him into the later rounds, and neutralize that explosive power. But Freeman is not someone who you are going to want to pressure too much, because he's got the speed to counter that. And when you get too aggressive, I think Freeman can make Bujlo pay for that. Freeman's fast hands and knockout power mean that any mistake in this could end the fight. And the key for Freeman will be to maintain his distance, avoid the clinch at all times, I think, and land those big shots when Bujlo overextends. For Marco Bujlo, the key to victory is controlling the pace, basically, at the end of the day. And I do think if he can get this to the ground, I do think he is the technically superior grappler. But I got to go with Daniel Freeman in this one. I think his knockout power is too much for Bujlo. And if Bujlo gets too aggressive looking for the clinch, I can see Freeman knocking him out bad with a uppercut or tight hook in the clinch. And for as good as I think Bujlo is on the ground, in my understanding, he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, Freeman is very athletic, and he might be able to get out of those bad positions much better than his Bujlo's other opposition. So once again, I'm picking Daniel Freeman in this one. I think his speed, power, and athleticism just make him a dangerous threat, especially against someone like Bujlo, who doesn't have the striking to match Freeman in open space. Bujlo Bujlo's path to victory lies in getting this fight to the ground, where Freeman's knockout power is neutralized. But I think Freeman's just too explosive, too fast, and too dangerous for Bujlo to handle. So I'm picking Daniel Freeman to win this fight, and I'm picking him via first or second round knockout. But with that being said, that's been my breakdown of this fight. If you like the video, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below on who you think's going to win. With that being said, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see y'all next time.